Majority Report with Sam Seder.
The destiny of America is always safer in the hands of the people than in the conference rooms of any elite.
Sam Seder.
They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
Ever get the feeling you've been cheated?
It is Tuesday, September 5th, 2023. My name is Sam Seder. This is the 5-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, hot labor summer, meet hot labor fall. Also, with a contract deadline 9 days away, the UAW preps for its strike. Democrats begin prepping for the end of the month Republican government shutdown. And a federal judicial panel strikes down Alabama Republicans' redistricting for the second time because of its racial gerrymandering. Politico reports Trump's co-defendants already beginning to turn on him. Not a shock. Texas towns are now passing local ordinances to prohibit free travel of people leaving the state for abortion access. Meanwhile, in D.C., Democrats call for investigation of Jared Kushner-Saudi relationship. New poll showing Biden support amongst black and Hispanic voters dropping. There's a special election today in Rhode Island, which could deliver a new progressive to the House. We're going to have John from San Antonio on the program early. A rare free half appearance by John from San Antonio.
Can't wait.
Meanwhile, Putin refuses to reinstate the grain deal. Elon Musk blaming the Jewish ADL for Twitter's revenue woes.
They took all my money. I'm not anti-Semitic, though.
Ken Paxton impeachment trial begins in Texas. 61 protesters are charged with RICO and domestic terrorism charges for their Cop City protests. All this and more on today's Majority Report. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us. I was going to mention in that Democrats' call for investigation of Jared Kushner and Saudi Arabia's relationships that Saudi Arabia decided to cut production for some reason. Their oil and gas prices will be going up to levels that could impact the presidential election. That is part of it. Who could have imagined?
Because they're sensitive about climate change.
Meanwhile, exactly. Well, I mean, at the end of the day. But meanwhile, Emma Vigeland back.
I am back.
From extended, well, really just a long weekend.
It was, yeah, I was away.
Were you gone Friday? Yeah, you were gone.
Wednesday, Thursday, right. Friday, I was out. I was with family. So, like, you know, it's relaxing, but it's also, you know, love my mother dearly, but we spend every waking moment together when we're hanging out. And so, you know, I'm refreshed-ish.
I understand. Speaking of family, in the fun half today, because of popular demand, we will have a special guest,
yes.
a member of my family, right? I mean, arguably, as far as you know. And he will be with us. He's actually probably going to make 2 appearances towards the end of today and end of tomorrow, so it'll be a follow-up, assuming today's goes okay and things are
I think he's got some tricks up his sleeve.
Yeah, this could be a bit of a debate situation, so we will see. I don't think he's a libertarian. I hope not. But Saul Seder will be joining us later in the program today. Don't forget to remind me of that shout out that you wanted to have, Saul. So he's here in the studio. School, of course, starts in New York City, anyways, Thursday. So
That makes sense.
it was. This is.
Makes sense to start on Thursday.
I'm being sarcastic. It makes absolutely no sense. I don't understand.
There's a child labor aspect to this. There's also a babysitter savings aspect to this, and of course, the pleasure of bringing your kid to work day.
Well, I'm having a great time.
Yep. All right, let's get in on this.
It's Newsday Tuesday.
It is Newsdays Tuesday. Tomorrow, we're going to be having another representative from the SAG-AFTRA union on to give us an update on that strike. In years past, maybe not in the past like decade or so, this is when you would start to see a rollout of all new shows in the fall. They have different schedules now because of the nature of the industry has changed. So we're going to get a report on what the implications of that are in terms of pressuring the studios. But the next big shoe to drop in the hot labor summer fall is
Hot labor Indian summer.
Hot labor. Yes, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we don't say that
I don't know
anymore.
if we say. Well, the BBC does. So.
Oh, do they? Well, there you are. But nevertheless, the overheated climate change fall,
Right.
Labor fall, is going to be the UAW, and they are now 9 days out from their strike deadline. It is unclear exactly how this strike is going to look once it starts. 160,000 members of the UAW, is that right? That may be striking. I'm not sure.
That sounds right.
We don't know exactly, who they're going to strike or what. We'll get the details of that as it rolls out. But here is UAW President Shawn Fain. There was a lot of questions about Fain when he was elected because people were not sure if he was as aggressive as he was making himself out to be when he ran for the UAW presidency. And so far, if he's just posturing, his posturing seems pretty good. But we'll get a better notion going into this. Here's Shawn Fain with just a message for folks.
Yeah, he's been doing these live streams where he takes questions and responds to super chats and stuff. Or
Was
even
that
just
when he
chats.
ripped up the proposal
exactly.
as
That was
well
one of
from
these.
the big three? That was pretty badass.
Fireside chats from union leaders.
The labor movement once fought for a vision of work life in which everyone had 8 hours for work, 8 hours for rest, and 8 hours for recreation. Sadly, it feels like we've gone so far backwards that we have to fight just to have the 40-hour work week back. Why is that? So another asshole can make enough money to shoot himself to the moon?
Saul, I'm sorry you had to hear that, but that is a reality. The bottom line is, the one of the demands that the UAW is making for a 32-hour work week. And that may be part of just making sure that the 40-hour work week is left intact, but we will see.
Interesting negotiating tactic.
Yeah.
To ask for more than you, might be able to get just to set the stakes of the negotiation.
46% pay raise. Yeah, 146,000 UAW members. I think SAG-AFTRA's 160 or whatever, but if I'm not mistaken. But that's massive.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And we shall get a better sense of this. Should also say, just in labor news, the SAG-AFTRA board will talk to, again, a negotiating member of the committee tomorrow, has voted unanimously to send strike authorization vote to SAG-AFTRA members in preparation for the union's forthcoming bargaining days with video game companies. So SAG-AFTRA has different contracts for the different sort of verticals, if you will, that mini industries they're involved in. So, for instance, commercials are not shut down right now. SAG-AFTRA workers can work on commercials. Video games not shut down right now. but contract seems to be coming up, and we'll talk more tomorrow about that. Also, in the wake of the Cemex ruling, all of these type of things become really important. You'll recall back in, I guess it was it March, REI did not recognize its workers' sort of card check vote for a union, and they have been supposedly, according to some of these organizers, threatening and disciplining organizers in the lead up, presumably, to an election. Well, under the new Cemex ruling, this is how you basically immediately usher in, or you get an order from the National Labor Relations Board to begin union contract negotiations. So we'll see how this goes. Trader Joe's workers submitted to the National Labor Relations Board. We'll see.
Because you can do it retroactively as well. Like
anything that was still pending.
Yes.
In front of the National Labor Relations Board. Now we're going to, get more and more clarification as we go. There's been still a dearth of reporting on this, largely as Harold Meyerson said last week to us, that because we had him on Wednesday, because the time when a lot of labor reporters take vacation is now, right around Labor Day.
Yeah.
And so we haven't heard much about it. And of course, a lot of corporations are not terribly excited about it, so they're not going to promote it. They're hoping, I think, to attack it. And maybe they're keeping their powder dry. We'll see. Visual effects workers at Marvel Studios in LA, New York, and Atlanta voted to unionize. Thousands of workers and hotel workers in LA also continue to have their rolling strikes. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be talking hopefully to John from San Antonio about the special elections in Rhode Island. Very important. But first, a couple of words from our sponsors. One of our sponsors today, we've had a long history with this sponsor. They sponsored us or wanted to sponsor us like a couple of years ago, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. And I didn't at the time feel like I had a need for the product. I asked Michael if he wanted to try it. And he was like, no. And Michael was a little bit thinning on the top. And Nutrafol approached us and, wanted to advertise. And then they came back years later. Emma said that she had a friend who had a lot of
some health issues, and lost her hair, and she used Nutrafol, and it works wonders.
And the thing is, I started to get a little thinning up here, and I'm like, I don't want to take any type of chemical type of situation. And so when Nutrafol approached us, I started taking it again because it is a hair growth supplement, and it's the number one dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement. Nutrafol is clinically shown to improve your hair growth, visible thickness, and visible scalp coverage. And I gotta say, it didn't seem super intense to me, but I've been taking it now for, close to 9 months, I think. And I don't have that sense of one half of my head is feeling a little thinner than the other. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements have physician-formulated, natural, science-backed ingredients. Their drug-free patent technology provides consistent, reliable results without compromising your sexual health. Go to Nutrafol.com/men. You take their health wellness quiz, identify causes of your thinning hair, and Nutrafol will give you a personalized plan for better health through whole body wellness. Nutrafol supports healthy growth from within by targeting root causes of thinning hair, such as stress, hormones, environment, nutrition, lifestyle, and metabolism through whole body health. And it works. In a clinical study, 84% of men showed improvement in their hair after 6 months of taking Nutrafol's men's hair growth supplements And I've noticed it. Take the first step to visibly thicker, healthier hair. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month's subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com/men. Enter the promo code TMR. Don't wait. Do not sleep on this. If you start to feel like your hair is thinning,
get out ahead of it.
Find out why over 4,000 healthcare professionals recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com/men, spelled Nutrafol.com/men. Enter the promo code TMR. That's Nutrafol.com/men, promo code TMR. And another one of our sponsors came around the time that I grew my beard.
Mm-hmm.
We had a sponsor who was, for a long time, that had a subscription service, disposable, cartridges and on, and became irrelevant to me in many respects, because all I'm doing is shaving this area right here, a little bit on the neck occasionally. And I wanted something that was not going to promote a lot of waste, something that I could do at my own pace, didn't need a subscription service. And I bring you one of our sponsors, Henson Shaving. Henson Shaving is a family-owned aerospace parts manufacturer. They made parts for the International Space Station and Mars rover, and now they are bringing their precision engineering to your shaving experience. I'm sure many of you have experienced discomfort with your shaving, particularly with your disposable ones. Well, that discomfort that men and women experience when shaving with disposable razors is due not because the blade is not sharp enough, because apparently you can do that. It is that the blade extends too far from the razor, causing the blade to wobble microscopically. Apparently, razor blades are like diving boards. The longer the board, the more the wobble, and the more nicks, cuts, and scrapes. A bad shave isn't a blade problem, it's an extension problem. So they use computer numerical control machines, CNC machines. I wrote down a note for myself. So
you can remember.
Aerospace grade. Henson makes metal razors that extend just 0.0013 inches, less than the thickness of a human hair. It means secure and stable blade with a vibration-free shave. And it gets better. The razor has, as you can see, built-in channels to evacuate hair and shaving cream that makes clogging virtually impossible. No more scraping hair out of there with your thumb or banging it on the sink is what I would do. And Henson Shaving wants to be the best razor, but not necessarily the best razor business. That means once you buy it, you've bought it, you own it, and you're done. There's no plastic. There's no subscriptions. No proprietary blades, no planned obsolescence. It takes standard dual edge blades. And once you buy this, your cost is basically $3 to $5 a year to use your razor.
So that razor's in my bathroom. Like, I see it now with the exact one, that silver one, because my boyfriend uses it now. And I had to go and get razor blades for myself from the store the other day, and I was like, I'm getting screwed. Like,
yes.
That situation, I'm telling you guys, it saves you a lot of money.
I have, shall we say, like maybe 20 left over from a previous brand that I'm working through. But as soon as I'm done with those ones, I'm moving to that. And never looking back.
And now they're going to save you that $3 to $10 essentially, because they're giving our audience a 2-year supply of blades for free. Just go to hensonshaving.com/majority. That's HENSON shaving.com/majority. Add a razor and 100-pack of blades to your cart. Then you got to add the blades yourself. Then enter the code majority to get the blades for free. The link is in the description. I'll tell you something. And here's, I'm not recommending this to anybody because I'm not but I don't even put shaving cream on. This thing is so precise. I don't even do that. I don't need it to be that smooth because it really hits it. Wow. I'm shaving right here, and I'm not going to put shaving cream on for that. I've gotten too lazy. I tried it once. I was nervous.
I don't think you need to, but yeah, I mean.
I tried it once. I was nervous, and it was great.
Right.
And now I'm off to the races. All right. We don't need to take a break here. We're just going to pick up John from San Antonio, I believe, is on the line. to talk about what's going on in Rhode Island, maybe in Utah as well. But we are only 6 months out from Democratic primaries in some states. And
Iowa is the 15th of January?
Well, we'll ask John from San Antonio.
Well, that's the Republican one, at least.
John, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Well,
Good
welcome back to the
afternoon,
program,
Sam and Emma.
John. It's been a long time. We've missed you. Glad to have you back.
Hi, John.
Hello, Sam and Emma. It's great to be back. I've been listening to the show and enjoying it, and I'm really looking forward to calling in more often again.
All right, great. So, all right, let's talk about Rhode Island, because this race has really been under the radar, at least as far as I can tell. And tell us, just give us some background on this.
Okay, so Democrat David Cicilline, who represented Rhode Island's 1st District since 2011, resigned his position, and today, like you said, is a Democratic primary to replace him. This is a district where Biden won by 29 points, so whoever wins the Democratic primary will win the general election to be held in November. So in the last poll that was conducted from August 15th through 17th by Global Strategy Group and paid for by one of the 11 candidates in the race, former Obama and Biden staffer Gene Ammo, had Bernie Sanders and AOC endorsed Aaron Regunberg at 28%, which is a 9-point lead over Ammo, who is in second place. 9 days ago, Bernie Sanders and a friend of the Majority Report and President of the Association of Flight Attendants, Sarah Nelson, held a rally in Providence with Regunberg. And here are some issues that Regunberg addresses on his website. He states, "Together we can address the climate crisis, stand up for a woman's right to choose, take on the gun industry, stop big pharma, big banks, and big oil from ripping us off." Regunberg also has the endorsement of Working Families Party, Our Revolution, and a slew of climate activist organizations. Bill McGibbon, who had a very informative segment on this show about 2 months ago, also endorsed Regunberg. Regunberg, the progressive candidate in the race, is leading in polling over a bunch of centrists who haven't coalesced behind one candidate, which is just the opposite of what happened in the last New York City mayoral race. So if you live in Rhode Island's 1st District, which covers the eastern portion of the state, I encourage you to vote for Aaron Regunberg.
And here is, I want to play this clip, which is just a sort of this is a little bit of a stunning admission. This is Patrick Kennedy. Relation.
Former congressman.
Former congressman from Rhode Island. And here he is stumping against, essentially, Aaron Regunberg for Gabe Amo. And this was, I guess, like 2 or 3 days ago? Here is Kennedy.
And I really hope this district takes Gabe and moves him on as their congressman, because they won't go wrong with Gabe. I will tell you, his opponents, especially the one that's in the front runner status right now, the notion that he would come out against the largest economic driver in the 1st District, the defense economy, left me flabbergasted. The notion that you can be a good Democrat and a liberal and not also support a strong national defense and good jobs here at home makes no sense. Gabe is a good Democrat and a strong liberal, but it doesn't mean he's not going to fight for Rhode Island jobs. And the way you fight for Rhode Island jobs is you don't cancel out Jack Reed, who's chairman of the Appropriations for Defense Spending. That's what Aaron Regunberg would do. He would vote against Rhode Island's best interest in cutting defense spending by 10%. Gabe Amo will be there to protect Rhode Island jobs, unlike his opponent, who is purely rhetoric-based, purely ideological, does not have the political finesse to really get things done, like we have with Jack Reed, like we have with Sheldon Whitehouse. Right now we have a very divided field. However, I would say a lot of those candidates are all together in terms of the same philosophy versus the front runner who represents a minor part of the overall Democratic Party, but he's still front runner because of the rest of the vote is so divided. I would hope that my friends who are also running in this race would see Gabe Amo as the candidate to coalesce behind. Because honestly, Aaron Regunberg will not hold a seat that will be able to be defended by the Democratic Party. He is too extreme. This seat was held by a Republican. It may be a blue seat, but when people see him voting against the defense industry in this state, when they see him wanting to upend the private health insurance system, I will tell you, he's invulnerable. He's vulnerable to getting beaten by a Republican.
Can you imagine being that out of touch, thinking that people in a safe blue district are more committed to the upholding of the military budget and the private health insurance industry, which people love? So, like, everybody let's panic and coalesce behind one of the conservative Democrats to prevent this scary radical. It was desperate and fun to see.
And, John, if I remember correctly, in fact, we just got an IM about this. Regunberg ran for lieutenant governor, and he lost just barely, right?
Yeah, that's true. He did. Yeah, and what Kennedy was saying is just ridiculous, and Emma made a good point. And the last time a Republican held that seat was in 1992. So you're going back, 31 years, and I mean it's just completely false what he's saying. And people do want change. I mean he's backed by a lot of people in Rhode Island, and I'm looking for a really positive result tonight.
And a minor part of the Democratic Party. I mean the guy's polling at 30%. That seems fairly significant. Portion of the Democratic Party.
So out of touch. I mean, he's the one. He's also in opposition, if I recall, to marijuana legalization.
Also,
that's the guy that we're talking about here.
It seems to me that a poll. When did you mention this poll was taken at the beginning of August? Is that right?
Yeah, in the middle of August, 15th through the 17th.
It seems to me that you've probably now got at least a handful of college students who've returned. There's something like 70,000 college students that are in Rhode Island between like Brown, RISD, University of Rhode Island. Now, I don't know. I know Brown is in that district. I don't know about the others, but I think they are on that side of the Blackstone Canal. And so maybe, and I think RISD is in that district as well. So it's going to be interesting to see if, because this is going to be an election that presumably is not going to be huge numbers. I mean, people are coming back to school. People aren't paying attention. It's early September. A couple of thousand college students could make a difference in this election.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all special elections are essentially all about turnout. I mean, and more so than any other. I mean, every election is about turnout, but I mean, because so few people turn out. I mean, I read that 3% of the voting population that is eligible have already voted early. So maybe we'll get another 3%, which is not so great. But I mean, I just hope people turn out for Regunberg. He's the strong choice. He's raised the most money. I think he has the most interest, and he has had the most money on hand when they checked that out in mid-August. And I think he has the issues behind him. And this is not just about rhetoric. This is about delivering. I mean, he really emphasizes about forming coalitions, and and some people don't like that. And there were some things that I agree with him on almost everything. Some things he doesn't go far enough to the left, for me. But I understand also that you have to make some choices, and those are difficult choices. Because like one of the things that I was watching a little bit of the debate, and what they emphasized the most was like the question that they asked.
Now wait, I just want to be explicit here. The Rhode Island DSA is not only not endorsing Regunberg. I think he's in there endorsing. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it might be Cano, and or they're basically saying don't just they're not endorsing Regunberg. We should say that this has been going on, I guess, for a couple of months in terms of like he is not the universal choice of the most progressive people there, but at this point he is the only one with the best chance, I would say, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's actually an Alex Seitzwald article that came out a couple of days on the NBC on the NBC website that talks specifically about the DSA and their choice not to endorse Regunberg. But I mean, I understand that position, because I mean they only endorse what they consider to be the most progressive candidates. But I mean, they also talk about having divisions within DSA on that strategy, and they were also talking about like Medicare for all. Even though Regunberg endorses Medicare for all, like on his website, he'll talk about the changes which are probably going to be necessary, and this is because unfortunately we just don't have the votes for Medicare for all right now, and so he'll talk about things like on his website it says healthcare is a right and not a privilege, and he says healthcare is a right, not a privilege, but our current system doesn't recognize this. In the United States, we spend far more on healthcare than on any developed country, yet we have the far worse health outcomes. American expectancy rates are currently declining, and inequality in lifespans is increasing. In fact, the richest Americans live more than a decade longer than the poorest Americans, and that's an absolute outrage. We simply must do better for millions and millions of regular people who are struggling with healthcare affordability and access. That's why Aaron spent years in the state legislature fighting to get corporate profiteering out of our healthcare system, and that's why he supports expanding Medicare and to cover all Americans. A Medicare for all system would provide every American with health care for free. That means no premiums, no deductibles, and no copays for going for the doctor. It's a more efficient way for more affordable per capita than our current system. And that's, so he's not really leading with Medicare for all, but he's also saying that eventually that's where they need to get to. So I mean, you can make the argument that he should be leading with Medicare for all, but truthfully, I mean, it probably will be a more incremental process before we get there, and each little improvement will help out. And I think that's kind of like Bernie's attitude towards trying to influence Biden is basically based on that same premise.
So, all right, let's turn our attention, and I got to say, I don't think, I think it makes sense for the DSA to maintain integrity to its project, and
it has its own external things going on
100%.
with candidate, accountability and that sort of stuff that's influencing all of this.
Right, of course, and it means, look. There's an argument even within the context of the Progressive Caucus within the House. Like, you are when you give the imprimatur to anybody who wants it, it may create a semblance of power, but there's also an argument that you should have to work a little harder for it in terms of like certain votes that you take or positions that you have. And so it's certainly a rational thing, I think, for the DSA to say we're not going to necessarily endorse in this this situation because we have our standards. He doesn't meet them, but a candidate it does. You know what you're getting, and so it's it makes it a little bit easier in terms of getting a sense they're being transparent about it. All right, but turning our attention to that. It's September. Where are we? When is the first Democratic primary? When are we going to start to see the primaries, John?
March 5th, exactly 6 months away. So we're going to have primaries in California, Texas, North Carolina, Alabama, and Arkansas. And of course,
all on March 5th.
All on March 5th.
Is that so wait, Super that's the
Tuesday? We're doing Super Tuesday is the first set of primaries this year.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's the latest information that I've seen. I mean, because they don't even know. You were talking about Iowa before, that they don't even have a date that I've seen. I think
is it not the 15th?
I think that's the Republican primary,
right.
But
okay.
The Democratic primary, Biden has completely screwed up the schedule to cater to his needs, which I totally disagree with. And I hope that really doesn't hurt him in New Hampshire, because a lot of people are pretty angry that they're not going to be, voting first, because I just don't understand why he thinks that South Carolina should go first, considering he's probably not going to have anybody to seriously challenge him. But I hope it doesn't affect.
It's payback to Clyburn.
Yeah, I know, and
that's what it is. It's just payback to Clyburn.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: wasn't there didn't Obama in 2012? Didn't he lose a state primary or come close or not participate in one? Do you recall?
I don't remember that. No.
All right, look into that for me, will you, John? To see.
Okay. Can I make one other thing?
Yeah.
TSA did not endorse Kano.
They didn't. Okay. Sorry about that.
Kano was. She had a lead in early polling, but then she had some scandal with her signatures, and she's dropped in recent polls. And so, but I'm hearing that it could be a little bit tighter, and like one guy, Carlson, dropped out of the race. He had 8% in the last poll, and so he endorsed Amo. So maybe Amo will get a little bit closer there, and so it is hard to know in these low turnout elections with very limited polling to know exactly what's going on. But I feel enthusiastic about Regunberg, though, that's for sure.
All right. Well, we shall see. John, always great to hear from you. Thank you so much, man.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care. All right. Bye-bye.
Folks, we got a couple of other stories to get to while we're here on Newsday Tuesday. Let's get into this story about Texas. Wait, we're going to do we'll do the Medicare spending in a bit. I just want to do this. This story is an important one to get out there. It's a story written in the Washington Post on Friday, I think it was.
Yeah.
And it's just another sort of element which I think should be alarming, both in terms of the question of abortion rights, but also the extent to which people will, or states, or these red states will go to inhibiting people from exercising their right to get an abortion in another state.
The fervor of the anti-abortion activists, their fixation, their obsession, that is key to understanding how we have to combat this here.
I don't know how you can't contemplate this as being authoritarian. I mean, even if you are one of those people who believe that the Supreme Court was wrong in finding a right to abortion to people and that it should be a state's decision, there really is no analog to what we're seeing in Texas now as far as inhibiting the ability of someone to exercise their rights in a different state. Like, even in the context of marriage equality, there was a lot of times, like, there was an era where you could get married in Massachusetts, that marriage wasn't necessarily recognized by the federal government in terms of the federal rights that you would get as a married person. And you could go to Texas and you would not get any of the marital support, or I should say rights that you get as a married person. They wouldn't recognize your marriage. But the idea that you're going to open up someone to liability for having gotten married in Massachusetts, there was no analog for that.
And let's just be clear, too. The people in, say, the Republican Party who say this should be left to the states, abortion should be, they're the equivalent of never Trumpers in the Republican Party because they're not really relevant to what we're talking about here. I'm sure there are people who have that sincerely held belief, but they are not the power players or the people driving legislation. The reality is that it's a fundamentalist organized effort, and that's the focus, not the very small numbers of the people that sincerely believe that. Because even the people that say they believe that, then they'll just be Lindsey Graham and introduce a federal ban as soon as you have the ability to do so.
So this story is specifically about the town of Llano. I don't know how to pronounce it, in Texas. And the thing about Llano, Texas, is that I think it's at an intersection of a couple of highways. And this is important because what the local ordinance purports to do is that if you are a woman driving on the roads in that town, headed towards another state where you still have a right to an abortion, or if you're driving someone to another state and you go through that town, their local ordinance makes it illegal to do so, and they allow for any private citizen to sue a person or organization they suspect of violating the ordinance. And I want to make something clear. They're going to get pro bono legal representation from right-wing groups that are going to provide this lawyer. So there is absolutely no obstacle for them to bring any suit willy-nilly.
This is the third city so far, by the way, in Texas to do this.
So if you are a traveling on highways such as Interstate 20 and Route 84, which head towards New Mexico, where abortion remains legal and new clinics have opened to accommodate Texas women, according to the Washington Post, you're in legal jeopardy. And this is their end around. The Supreme Court never took issue with this type of like deputization of people to sue. That was essentially, Missouri had a law like this. Idaho began to impose criminal penalties on anybody who helps a minor leave a state. We're going to see more and more of this.
They're also in Texas targeting areas around major airports like Dallas and Austin. Llano is kind of closer to Austin, I believe. But
so if you're in a small town, and the reason why they're targeting towns, or I should say, and the targeting is happening obviously by right-wing groups. You get a town of 4,000 people, and maybe you drive through that town if you're on any given interstate highway, or you touch the airport in any way, or you surround the airport. Much easier to go in there for a rural town that's supportive, let's say, of Trump. Spend a little bit of money, get that ordinance on the books. You're certainly going to see that money come back through the donations that are going to come from those people who win their lawsuits. This is what the game plan is, and we hear a lot of talk about authoritarianism. Hear a lot of candidates talk about climate change and COVID being about tracking you and inhibiting you. Like,
Well, we hear a lot about states' rights.
Talking about this.
Well, I mean, I guess every state should have the ability to allow for abortion, and also the Constitution protects your right to travel. But some of the stuff they're looking into to make this a law is the Mann Act, a 1910 federal law, which is about stopping women from engaging in prostitution or debauchery. Just to give people a sense of like how on the nose these folks are. It really is about controlling women, and the statutes they're citing to engage in this, and people who can get pregnant. The statutes they're citing in this instance to as the undergirding of their what they want to do backs that up as well. It's foundational. And so it remains to be seen whether this is constitutional, but it's hard to imagine that the Supreme Court is going to overturn something like this. And it's also unclear, whether it will rise to that, but we'll see. And by the way, all those people that made process-based arguments about abortion, saying they should have gone through the legislature instead of through the courts, I'm glad that the process was at the forefront of people's minds as opposed to the rights, because it was not. Some things you're not able to pass through the legislature because of all of the institutional pressure and opposition to it. And abortion is one of those things. And it was done away with, but that only underscores how strong the opposition is, not the way that the right was secured. And this was, and I guess lastly, the bottom line is this was fairly predictable. Of course. And this is where this is headed. And they're not going to stop with abortion. They're going to move on to birth control. They're not going to stop with states banning it. I mean, this is a de facto federal ban if you are from Texas, right? I mean, it is a de facto federal ban if you're from Texas. And this is just setting the baseline for what Republicans are going to seek if they're in a position to have control over the three branches of the federal government. That's what we're going to see. And they're not going to stop with this in the same way that they are not going to stop with anti-trans legislation. They're moving on to trying to challenge Obergefell, and this is just the way they roll. Their agenda is very explicit, and it is not negotiable because this is coming out of a religious fundamentalist mindset. Even and regardless of whether those who are practicing it are religious fundamentalists themselves, they have adopted a religious fundamentalist mindset, and that's what's driving the agenda. So there is no compromise. It is just a question of the pace in which they move forward to inhibit the rights of people who are not towing a religious fundamentalist line in terms of what sexuality is supposed to be, what individual rights are supposed to be. That's it. Bottom line. And, we know from Steven Crowder, Texas, no-fault divorce state. Maybe they're coming for that next, making sure that women don't have rights in those ways that they can be trapped by pregnancies and certain maybe abusive marriages. And just notice how, their interstate there are other laws. You mentioned marriage, but for example, in some states, sports betting on your phone is legal. Say you wanted to cross the border from one state to another to place a bet on your phone and then come back. Are they really cracking down on that? Are they? No, because as we understand, the stuff that they're targeting is all about controlling women and controlling sexuality, whether it be for gay people or women as well. All right, we're going to we'll keep you updated on any new laws in that respect. Just briefly, there was also a story in the Times that was really interesting. Let's put up this graph. And I think folks know
We talk about it less these days because the at least the immediate threat to it is not as pronounced as it was during the last decade, frankly. But there are two major social insurance programs that are the most successful, long-standing government-sponsored programs that we have, that really, the government, if you're looking at just dollars, does really two things, maybe three things. One is spends a lot of money on military in one form or another. The other is it's a massive social insurance program. And then the third is, to some extent, is providing services. The social insurance programs are Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. We pay into Social Security and Medicare, and we get money back. Medicare, for years, has provided far more in services to people who have paid in, and you got to live until you're old enough to get Medicare, than they have put in. Social Security pays out a little bit more than what you've put in, but it also keeps it safe. You can look at 401ks. All you got to do is Google 401k experiment failure, and you'll see exactly what's going on with 401ks. But Medicare, because it paid out so much more, because as people age, and if you think about it in terms of insurance, the risk pool is so high because 80% of medical costs are borne by 20% of the people. And as you get older, you tend to have more ailments that are going to cost money, whether that's drugs or whether that's procedures or whatnot. And so there was a real concern that Medicare was going to be budget busting. And then something weird happened, and these are all projections based upon the trajectory it was on through the end of the 20th century and into the first 10 years of the 21st century. And then something happened. Put up this graph. This is a graph in the New York Times. If you go up, scroll up to where this is, and you'll see. There it is. In 1983,
Ronald Reagan said, "The need for action now is clear. Healthcare costs are climbing so fast that they may soon threaten the quality of care and access to care which Americans enjoy." So,
And then watch as we go through the years, the cost keeps shooting up. In 95, it had almost doubled. In 2011, it had doubled from where it was in 95.
And they show a quote there about how Obama wanted to be more responsible with Medicare, which people forget, but that was almost happened.
And look at the trajectory. That dotted yellow line is what the rate of growth would have expected. It would have almost doubled in the next 12 years. And instead, what happened was in 2011, which is weird, just after the ACA kicked in, the actual spending created a $3.9 trillion gap over the last 10 years, 12 years, relative to where it was trending towards in the 40 years prior. And you see one big spike there. Look at that spike. That spike is in the middle of the Trump years, when the Trump administration did everything they could to inhibit people signing up in the ACA, et cetera. Now, the article attributes some of this to ACA. Other things are just that supposedly there have been better sort of control, chronic disease, et cetera, but it really falls off a cliff. I mean, really falls off a cliff in just 2011.
So it's 12,000 in 2023 can we just scroll back up a little bit slightly? Because the expected is, so it's 12,000, $459 per beneficiary annually versus what was expected, which was over $22K.
Yes, and it was $13,000 in 2011. Now,
so it's gone down.
Part of it could be, I mean, nobody's quite sure what any of it is. There is some of it is that there, people having fewer strokes and heart attacks. Certainly, recently, anyways, COVID oddly helped because we lost hundreds of thousands of people who were on Medicare because COVID killed them.
Yeah.
And of course, we could bring Medicare expenses down to zero if we all died before at age 64. But obviously, we don't want that.
And do we expect it also maybe to go down even further once this drug negotiation kicks in? Potentially?
It's possible. I mean, now, to be clear, this doesn't, at the end of the day, impact anybody using Medicare now. The drug controls will ultimately impact people using Medicare because they'll be paying less in terms of copays. But it has protected Medicare from sort of the ghouls who wanted to cut it. This is a huge savings, $3.9 trillion over the course of 10 years. Trump's tax cuts cost about $2 trillion over 10 years. The plan to cut under Simpson-Bowles would have saved much less than $3.9 trillion. It also just goes to show you that, and the ACA did not do great, as far as I can tell, in terms of protecting or making health insurance particularly cheaper for Americans. It evened it off. It slowed the rate of increase in some instances. But the real benefit was the PPI part of the ACA. If you look it up, it wasn't just the ACA. It was the Affordable Care Act and patient protection. And the patient protection part of this, I think, it doesn't get mentioned in this article, but I think it has a big makes a big difference. Because for a lot of people, you could get denied health care, or I should say denied health insurance, which ultimately led to a lot of denial of care. You could have your health insurance pulled because you cost too much on any given year. Or you could get your health insurance pulled because you cost too much over the course of any given lifetime. And what do you do in that situation? You start to ration your drugs. Maybe you get off the drugs. Maybe you don't see as many doctors. You don't get as treated. And you try and basically get across the finish line until you're 65 and you're eligible for Medicare. And then all of a sudden, the cost associated with treating you on Medicare has grown exponentially. You can't afford your oil change on your car.
Yeah.
You put it off. You start having problems with your engine. You start having problems and you reach some finish line where all of a sudden you can afford going to see the mechanic, and your car's going to cost you that much more. And I think that has a big part to do with it. That the quality, and I mean basic. I'm measuring quality in terms of basic, like it's literally going to be there for you, existed or did not exist before 2014. The patient protection part of this made a big difference, I think, in just people's ability to access health insurance.
Preventative care.
We still had, medical bankruptcies, not in the numbers that we had before it, but still way too many. We still had millions without health insurance, although that went down during COVID to its lowest levels because we expanded Medicaid. And that has gone away. We've kicked off, we'll get the numbers by the end of the year as to how many millions we've been kicked off of Medicaid because we just decided as a policy choice, that was nice, but we're not really that interested in it. But that little tweak will has helped Medicare in ways that I think it's still unclear as to why. And I think part of the reason why it's obscured is because people don't want to see the value of government intervening in the health insurance industry. If everybody was on Medicare, the cost of Medicare would go up, but only nominally, because we're already in a risk pool which is far more expensive than any other risk pool that could exist. And if you were to add people in their 50s and people in their 40s and people in their 30s and their 20s who are that much more healthy, expand the bargaining power of Medicare, begin to understand more efficiencies that can happen in terms of healthcare. If we intervene here at age 30, it's going to save us X amount of dollars when that person's 65. I mean, this is the argument. Within numbers like this are the arguments for expanding Medicare. The benefits we're seeing now are because of government intervention in the insurance industry. And it is just like basically half of, we're just getting there to like half or 3/4 or 2/3 of Medicare, which is government regulation. The big switch that would happen is just that all of a sudden you have 20% more savings because Medicare spends 2 to 3% of its money on administrative costs, and health insurance spends 17%, or I should say 20%. And then you would also see the savings in terms of providing medical care because doctors are not going to have to play, how do I learn the vagaries of the 14 different insurance companies that I deal with because of my patients? This is just a great argument for single payer healthcare.
Yep.
When you start to see what a little bit of government intervention can do in terms of cost savings.
And that's without raising taxes to, help supplement some of these programs as well.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to pay for it, but it's either you either pay $2 for it in the private sector, or you pay $1 for it in the public.
Yeah,
that's basically what it is. I mean, the numbers may be slightly different in that respect, but that's the dynamic. All right, we're going to take a break, head into the fun half. Just a reminder, on the fun half today, at the end of the show, debate between myself and Saul Seder, a student going into 5th grade, actually, in just a couple of days.
Whoa.
Yep. All right, quick break. Just a reminder, it's your support that makes this show possible. You can become a member at jointhemajorityreport.com. When you do, you not only support the free half of the program, but you also get the fun half, and you get the free half free of commercials. Then you get some benefits in the fun half, like when you use the app on majorityapp.com, it's available to everybody. But if you use the app in the fun half, you can IM us. Did I say us? IM us, not Emma S, us.
But Emma's show, ESVN, will have its mega episode for the NFL season on Thursday once Bradley returns, because that's the opener. We're going nuts, baby. Tune in, youtube.com/ESVN show for that on Thursday. Did I say Tuesday? Thursday.
Matt, what's happening on Left Reckoning?
Yeah, tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern, Robert Skvarla, we're talking about how different spy firms are spying and creating baseball cards of activists and journalists in America. So that's tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern on Left Reckoning, patreon.com/Left Reckoning.
Oh, fun. Wait, so is it Thursday or Tuesday?
Did I say Tuesday? Thursday.
It's this Thursday. That's right.
Today's Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this Thursday. ESPN.
All right, folks, 646-257-3920 is the number. We'll see you in the fun half.
You are in for it.
All right, folks, 646-257-3920. See you in the fun half.
Are you ready?
Who sent us this?
Anarchy. Alpha males are back.
back, boys back, and the alpha males are back.
Just as delicious as you could imagine.
The alpha males are back, boys back, and the alpha males are back.
Just wanna degrade the white man.
Alpha males are back.
I take all of it in my throat.
Alpha males are back.
Snowflake says what?
The alpha males are back.
You are a madman!
And the alpha males are back.
Oh no, Sam Seder! What a fucking nightmare!
Bring back DJ Danner.
Yeah, or a couple of them. Just put them in rotation.
DJ Danner.
Well, the problem with those is they're like 45 seconds long, so I don't know if they're enough of a break.
That's fucking nonsense.
See white people doing drugs, they look worse than normal white people, and all white people look disgusting.
And the alpha males,
psych, fuck them. Snowflake says what? What? Snowflake says what?
A hell of a lot of bank. A hell of a lot of bank. A hell of a lot of bank. Okay, I'm making stupid money. Hell of a lot of bank. A hell of a lot of bank.
All lives matter. Have you tried doing an impression on a college campus?
I think that there's no reason why reasonable people across the divide can't all agree with this. Psych.
And the alpha males are back. And the Africans are black African. And the alpha males are black. And the Africans are back.
When you see Donald Trump out there, doesn't a little part of you think that America deserves to be taken over by jihadists? Keeping it 100. Can't knock the hustle.
Come on. Fuck 'em.
Things I do for the bigger game plan.
By the way, it's my birthday. Happy birthday to me, Jew boy. I have a thought experiment for you.
And the alpha males are back. Africans are black. Alpha males are black. Africans are back.
Come on.